The gunshot cracked through the ballroom. Marcus Thompson, a 40-year-old black maintenance worker in a faded uniform, threw his body in front of the bullet. Not for his daughter. Not for a friend. For the billionaire CEO, who didn't even know his name. Blood exploded across his chest. He crashed to the marble floor, his final whisper barely audible. "You're safe now." The crowd froze. The woman he saved stared down at this stranger, this nobody, who had just traded his life for hers. But here's what nobody knew: Marcus Thompson wasn't supposed to be there that night. And the bullet wasn't meant for her, it was meant for him. Before we continue, drop a comment telling me which city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. And if you want to see how this all unfolds, hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the end. Now, let me tell you how a janitor became the most talked about hero in America. The gun came out of nowhere. 1 second, Victoria Sterling stood at the podium, microphone in hand, 300 guests hanging on her every word. The next second, chaos. A man in a dark coat pushed through the crowd. His hand reached inside his jacket. Chrome metal caught the chandelier light. "You destroyed everything." The scream cut through the applause like a knife. Security guards turned too slow. Guests stumbled over each other. Champagne glasses shattered on marble. But one man moved. Marcus Thompson dropped his toolkit. His legs carried him forward before his brain could object. 20 feet of panicked bodies between him and that stage. 3 seconds to cover the distance. He didn't think about his daughter waiting at home. He didn't think about the 6 years he'd spent hiding from exactly this kind of moment. He just moved. The gunman's finger tightened on the trigger. Marcus launched himself onto the stage, arms spread wide, his body becoming a wall between the weapon and the woman behind him. The shot rang out. Fire tore through his chest. He fell. Blood pooled beneath him, spreading across the white marble like spilled wine. Victoria Sterling dropped to her knees beside him, her red dress staining crimson. "Oh my God! Oh my God! Someone call 911! Marcus looked up at her. This woman who'd walked past him 100 times without a glance. This woman whose building he'd cleaned for 3 years. He smiled. "You're safe now," he whispered. Then his eyes closed. 12 hours earlier. The alarm clock screamed at 4:47 a.m. Marcus Thompson's hand shot out from under the covers, silencing it before the second ring. Old habit. In his previous life, loud noises meant danger. Even now, 6 years removed from combat, his body remembered what his mind tried to forget. He lay still for a moment, staring at the water-stained ceiling of his one-bedroom apartment. Somewhere outside, a car alarm wailed. Somewhere down the hall, a baby cried. Home. "Daddy!" The small voice came from the doorway. Marcus turned his head. His 10-year-old daughter, Maya, stood there in her pajamas clutching a stuffed elephant that had seen better days. "Hey, baby girl, what are you doing up?" "I had the dream again." Marcus opened his arms. Maya crossed the room and climbed into bed beside him, pressing her face against his chest. "The one about Mommy." She nodded. Marcus held her tighter. 6 years since Denise passed. Cancer took her in 8 months from diagnosis to grave. Some nights he still reached for her side of the bed. "You know what Mommy would say right now?" Marcus asked. "What?" "She'd say baby girl dreams are just your brain cleaning house. The sad ones mean you're making room for happy ones." Maya sniffled. "That sounds like something she'd say." "Because I stole it from her. Your mama was the smart one. I'm just the guy who borrowed her wisdom." Maya giggled. That sound, that tiny laugh was worth everything. Worth the double shifts. Worth the aching knees. Worth every morning he dragged himself out of bed when staying down seemed easier. "Daddy." "Yeah, baby? Are you happy?" The question caught him off guard. 10-year-olds weren't supposed to ask things like that. What makes you ask? Kids at school say their dads smile more. You only smile when you look at me. Marcus felt something crack in his chest. Not pain, something deeper. "Come here." He lifted her chin so their eyes met. You want to know a secret? What? You're the only thing worth smiling about. Everything else is just noise. But you're the music. Maya's eyes filled with tears. That's cheesy, Daddy. I know, but it's true. Now get some sleep. You've got school in a few hours, and I've got toilets to unclog. Ew. Hey, somebody's got to do it. Might as well be me. Maya settled against his chest. Within minutes, her breathing deepened. Sleep came easy for her, a gift Marcus envied. He lay awake, watching the ceiling, waiting for dawn. 5:30 a.m. The Sterling Industries Tower rose 42 stories above downtown, all glass and steel and corporate ambition. Marcus entered through the service entrance, same as always. Badge scan, security nod, maintenance closet. His locker contained exactly 3 things: a spare uniform, a photograph of Maya taped to the inside of the door, and a worn dog tag he never wore but couldn't throw away. He picked up the dog tag, ran his thumb across the engraving. Staff Sergeant Marcus Thompson, 75th Ranger Regiment, never leave behind. 3 tours in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq. Missions in Syria, Yemen, places that didn't officially exist on any map. Call sign Shadow, the kind of soldier who walked into darkness and walked out alone because everyone else was dead. He'd been good at it, too good. The brass wanted to make him an officer. Recruitment videos. Poster boy for the new military. Marcus wanted out. When Denise got sick, he didn't hesitate. 14 years of service gone. Benefits, pension, career gone. Your country needs you, his commanding officer had said. My daughter needs me more. He'd never regretted the choice. But some nights, when the dreams came, he wondered if the soldier he used to be was still in there somewhere. Waiting. Thompson. You clocking in or taking a vacation? Frank Morrison. His supervisor stood in the doorway, 58 years old, beer gut, permanent scowl. On my way. Big night tonight. The Sterling Gala. Everything's got to be perfect. I need you on event duty. Event duty? Yeah, you know. Stand in the corner, look invisible. Fix anything that breaks. Try not to embarrass us in front of the rich folks. Marcus nodded. Got it? Frank handed him an event badge. And for God's sake, stay out of the way. These people don't want to see the help. The help? Marcus had heard worse. In Afghanistan, local warlords called American soldiers dogs. Compared to that, the help was almost polite. Understood. Frank walked away. Marcus tucked the dog tag back into his locker, closed the door, and went to work. 9:15 a.m. The 32nd floor executive suite existed in a different universe. Marcus stepped off the service elevator into a world of polished mahogany, original artwork, and assistants who moved like ghosts, efficient, silent, invisible. He was here to fix a flickering light in the conference room. Simple job, 15 minutes tops. But as he walked down the hallway, he heard voices from an open office door. Ma'am, security has flagged another threat. How many does that make this month? 7. A pause, then a woman's voice cold as steel. And Chief Morrison recommends canceling tonight's gala. Absolutely not. This merger announcement is worth $12 billion. I'm not letting some keyboard warrior with a grudge shut me down. Ma'am, this one feels different. The language is specific, personal. He mentioned your childhood, foster care, things that aren't public knowledge. Another pause, longer this time. Increase security, double the detail, but the gala happens. Yes, ma'am. Marcus kept walking, but his ears stayed tuned to the conversation. Death threats, personal knowledge, someone who knew her past. Old instincts stirred. The soldier he'd buried started paying attention. You, maintenance. The voice stopped him cold. Marcus turned. Victoria Sterling stood in her office doorway. 32 years old, designer suit eyes that could cut glass. He'd seen her on the news and magazines, on the lobby TV screens. Always polished, always perfect. But up close, he noticed something else. Exhaustion. Barely hidden behind expensive makeup. You're blocking the hallway. Sorry, ma'am. Marcus stepped aside. Just here to fix the light in conference room B. Victoria studied him for a moment. Her gaze lingered on his face like she was trying to place him. Have we met? No, ma'am, I'm just maintenance. Just maintenance. She repeated the words, slowly tasting them. That's an interesting way to describe yourself. It's an accurate way. Something flickered in her eyes. Not quite interest. More like recognition. Like she'd heard that kind of deflection before. What's your name? Marcus Thompson. How long have you worked here? Mr. Thompson? 3 years. 3 years. She tilted her head. And we've never spoken. You're busy. I'm invisible. That's how it should be. Victoria's expression shifted. For a split second, the mask slipped. He saw something underneath, loneliness maybe, or surprise that someone wasn't trying to impress her. Fix the light, Mr. Thompson. Yes, ma'am. She turned back to her office, but at the doorway she paused. For what it's worth, I don't think anyone is just anything. Then she was gone. Marcus stood in the hallway, heart pounding harder than it should. There was something about that woman, something broken hiding behind all that power. He recognized it because he saw the same thing in his mirror every morning, 12:30 p.m. The employee cafeteria was a study in hierarchy. Executives ate in the penthouse dining room. Middle management had the 12th floor cafe. Workers like Marcus had the basement fluorescent lights, vending machines, plastic chairs bolted to metal tables. Marcus sat alone eating a sandwich Maya had made him that morning. Peanut butter and banana, his favorite. She'd drawn a smiley face on the bag in purple marker. Yo Thompson, Deshaun Williams, fellow maintenance worker, 26 years old, built like a linebacker, dropped into the seat across from him. You hear about tonight? The gala. Yeah, I'm on duty. Man, that's rough. All those rich folks looking at you like you're furniture. Deshaun shook his head. I hate event nights. It's not so bad. They don't see us anyway. That's the problem, brother. Deshaun leaned forward. You ever think about it? We keep this whole building running. Lights, plumbing, elevators. We're the reason these people can do their jobs. But they walk past like we don't exist. Marcus shrugged. Some people only see what they're looking for. Deep. Deshaun grinned. You should write fortune cookies. I'll add it to my resume. Speaking of which, Deshaun lowered his voice. Word is Sterling's looking for a new security director. Someone with military experience. You were Army, right? Marcus's expression didn't change. That was a long time ago. Still counts. Ranger Regiment if the rumors are true. Where'd you hear that? Building manager talks too much after his 3rd beer. Says you've got medals most people never even heard of. Marcus wrapped up the rest of his sandwich. Appetite gone. Whatever I was before doesn't matter. I'm a janitor now, that's all. Man, why you always downplay yourself? You could be running security for this whole Deshaun. Marcus's voice hardened, just enough to signal the conversation was over. I fix toilets. I change light bulbs. That's the job. That's all I want. Deshaun held up his hands. All right. No offense. None taken. But as Marcus walked away, he felt the weight of his past pressing down. 3 years of hiding. 3 years of being nobody. And tonight, in a room full of people who thought they were somebody, everything would change. 3:45 p.m. Maya's school let out at 3:30. Marcus stood at the fence, same spot as always, watching for her yellow backpack. She burst through the doors, braids flying, running full speed. Daddy? He caught her in his arms, lifting her off the ground. Hey, baby girl. Good day. The best I got an A on my history test. An A, that's my girl. He set her down, grinning. What was it on the civil rights movement? We learned about Dr. King and Rosa Parks and the marches. Heavy stuff. Ms. Williams said courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite fear. Maya looked up at him. That's what you did in the Army. Right, Daddy, acted despite fear. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Who told you about the Army? Tommy Henderson. His dad said you were a hero. that you saved people. Tommy Henderson talks too much. But it's true, right? You were a soldier. Marcus knelt down to her level. This conversation was coming. He'd always known it would, but he'd hoped for more time. Yes, I was a soldier, a long time ago. Why did you stop? Because I had something more important to do. What? Raise you. Maya's eyes widened. You quit being a hero for me. I didn't quit being a hero. Marcus touched her face. I just found a new mission, the most important one. What mission? Making sure you grow up safe, happy, knowing you're loved. Maya threw her arms around his neck. You're my hero, Daddy, my real hero. Marcus held her tight, blinking back tears he'd never let her see. Come on, baby girl, let's go home. 6:30 p.m. The gala was 3 hours away. Marcus stood in his apartment staring at himself in the bathroom mirror. Gray maintenance uniform pressed but worn. Same uniform he'd worn 1,000 times. Behind him, Maya sat on the toilet lid watching. You look tired, Daddy. I am tired. Then why are you going? Because it's my job. Can I come? Marcus turned. Come. To the party. I want to see where you work. Baby, it's not a party. It's a work thing. Fancy people in fancy clothes talking about fancy money. But I want to support you. Those words hit different. Support you. Like she was the parent and he was the child. How about this? Marcus said. Mrs. Patterson's watching you tonight, but tomorrow after I get paid, we'll go to that pizza place you like. Just me and you. The one with the arcade. The one with the arcade. Maya's face lit up. Promise? Promise. She jumped up and hugged him. Be careful tonight, Daddy. I'm always careful. But even as he said it, something cold settled in his stomach. A feeling he hadn't had in years. The feeling that something bad was coming. 7:00 p.m. The Sterling Industries ballroom existed to impress. Crystal chandeliers the size of cars. Gold accents that cost more than Marcus's entire apartment. Guests in suits and gowns, worth more than his annual salary. Marcus entered through the service entrance toolbox in hand badge clipped to his collar. Invisible, just like Frank wanted. He found his position a corner near the back close to the kitchen entrance. Good sightlines. Multiple exits. Perfect vantage point. Old habits. The guests started arriving at 7:30. Politicians, CEOs, celebrities, media personalities with perfect smiles and dead eyes. And then, Gregory Walsh. Marcus knew him by reputation. Vice President of Operations, known for his custom suits and his contempt for anyone below the executive level. Walsh walked through the ballroom like he owned it, champagne in hand, entourage in tow. His path took him directly past Marcus's corner. Make room! Marcus stepped aside, but apparently not fast enough. Walsh stopped, turned. His eyes traveled down Marcus's uniform with undisguised disgust. What exactly do you think you're doing here? Event duty, sir. Maintenance. Maintenance. Walsh laughed, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Did someone forget to lock the service entrance? We can't have the help wandering around where people might see them. A woman in diamonds snickered. Honestly, Gregory, it's embarrassing. What next? The dishwashers, serving canapes. More laughter. Walsh moved closer to Marcus, champagne breath hot on his face. Listen carefully, because I'm only going to say this once. You stay in your corner. You keep your head down. And if anyone important talks to you, your only response is yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. Understood. Marcus's jaw tightened. Every instinct screamed at him to respond, to remind this man that he'd faced down Taliban fighters with more dignity. But he thought of Maya, of the job he couldn't afford to lose. Yes, sir, Walsh smirked. Good boy. He walked away, entourage laughing. Marcus stayed in his corner, fists clenched at his sides. He didn't notice the small figure watching from behind a pillar. didn't see the yellow dress or the braids. Maya had snuck in through the service entrance. She'd wanted to surprise her father. Now she stood, frozen tears streaming down her face, watching strangers mock her hero. 8:15 p.m. The lights dimmed. A spotlight illuminated the main stage as Victoria Sterling walked to the podium, red dress, flowing diamond necklace catching the light. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Tonight marks a new chapter in Sterling Industries' history. Marcus barely heard the speech. His eyes scanned the crowd, that old instinct refusing to quiet down. Something was wrong. He couldn't explain it, couldn't point to any specific thing, just a feeling, the kind that had kept him alive through 3 combat tours. His gaze found a man near the east entrance. Dark coat. Wrong posture. Hands that never left his pockets. Watching. Waiting. Then another. Near the stage. Same energy. Same coiled tension. 2 of them. Marcus's heart rate spiked. His body shifted into a mode he'd thought he'd left behind forever. Assessment. Angles. Distance. Cover points. The man near the east entrance moved. His hand went inside his coat. Marcus moved first. 8:17 p.m. And so as we enter this new partnership, Victoria's speech stopped mid-sentence. Screams erupted from the crowd. Guests scrambled. Champagne glasses shattered. The man in the dark coat pushed through the chaos, gun raised, face twisted with rage. Victoria Sterling. Security reached for their weapons too slow. You destroyed my family, now I destroy you. Victoria froze. The gun aimed at her chest. Her life measured in heartbeats. And then a blur of gray. Marcus Thompson, maintenance worker, single father, forgotten soldier, flew across the ballroom. He didn't think about his daughter. He didn't think about the years he'd spent running from this moment. He thought about Denise whispering in his ear, "Save someone today. Anyone. That's what you're here for." He launched himself onto the stage. The shooter's eyes widened. Marcus spread his arms wide, a human shield, putting himself between the bullet and the woman who'd never even known his name. The gun fired. The impact spun him sideways. Hot metal tore through muscle, shattered rib, nicked lung. He fell. Blood. So much blood. Victoria dropped beside him, hands pressing against the wound, her designer dress soaking crimson. Why would you do this?" Marcus looked up at her. The pain was immense but distant somehow, like it was happening to someone else. Because everyone matters. His eyes found Maya in the crowd, his little girl frozen in horror, watching her father bleed. He smiled at her, tried to mouth the words, "I love you, baby girl." Then the darkness took him. 8:19 p.m. The ballroom existed in suspended animation. Guests stood frozen. Security had the shooter pinned to the ground. Sirens wailed in the distance. And in the center of it all, a billionaire CEO cradled a dying janitor in her arms. "Stay with me. Stay with me." Victoria pressed harder on the wound. Blood pulsed through her fingers, unstoppable. "Who are you?" she whispered. "Why did you save me?" But Marcus couldn't answer. His eyes were closed, his breathing shallow. A child's scream cut through the silence. "Daddy! Daddy!" Maya burst through the crowd, security guards unable to stop her. She collapsed beside her father, grabbing his hand, pressing it to her tear-stained face. You promised you'd never leave me. Daddy, please." Victoria stared at the girl, at the man bleeding in her arms. He has a daughter. This man, this stranger who gave his life for mine, has a daughter. The paramedics arrived, equipment clattering. "Everyone back, give us room." They lifted Marcus onto a stretcher, working with desperate efficiency. Gunshot to the chest, BP dropping. "We're losing him." Maya tried to follow, but Victoria held her back. "Let me go. That's my daddy." I know, sweetheart." Victoria wrapped her arms around the thrashing child. "They're going to save him. I promise." But even as she said the words, she wasn't sure she believed them. The stretcher disappeared through the ballroom doors. The sirens faded into the night, and Victoria Sterling, the woman who'd built walls around her heart for 32 years, stood holding a stranger's daughter, both of them trembling. The question echoed in her mind. "Who are you, Marcus Thompson, and what have you done for me?" The ambulance screamed through the city streets, lights painting the buildings red and blue. Inside, paramedics worked over Marcus's body with desperate precision. IV lines, oxygen mask, pressure on the wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. BP's crashing 60/40. "Push another unit of O-neg. We're losing him." Maya sat strapped in the corner, her yellow dress splattered with her father's blood. Her hands shook uncontrollably. Her eyes never left his face. "Daddy," she whispered, "please don't leave me. You promised we'd go to the pizza place." One of the paramedics glanced at her. Young guy, maybe 25. His eyes softened for just a moment. "Hey, sweetheart, your dad's a fighter. We're gonna do everything we can." "He's a hero," Maya said. "He saved people in the war. He can't die from one bullet. He can't." The paramedic's hands froze mid-motion. He looked at Marcus again. Really looked. "War. Your dad was military. Army Rangers. 3 tours." Something shifted in the paramedic's expression. He worked faster now, more urgently. "Hang in there, soldier," he muttered. "We got you." Behind the ambulance, a black sedan followed. Victoria Sterling sat in the back seat, still wearing her blood-soaked dress. Her assistant drove. Security followed in another vehicle. "Ma'am, we should take you to the hospital for evaluation." "I'm not hurt." "The blood isn't mine." Victoria's voice cracked. "It's his. All of it." She stared at her hands. Crimson stained every line, every crease. The blood of a man she'd passed 1,000 times without seeing. "What do we know about him?" Her assistant pulled up a file on his tablet. "Marcus Thompson, age 40, single father, hired 3 years ago as maintenance staff. Emergency contact is his daughter Maya Thompson, age 10. That's it. That's all we have in HR records. Dig deeper." "Ma'am, I said dig deeper." Victoria's eyes burned. A man doesn't move like that, doesn't react like that from changing light bulbs. Find out who he really is. The sedan pulled into the hospital emergency entrance seconds after the ambulance. Victoria was out before the car fully stopped running toward the stretcher being rushed through the doors. "Is he alive?" "Tell me he's alive." A nurse stepped in front of her. "Ma'am, you can't be back here." "I'm Victoria Sterling. That man saved my life. I'm not leaving." "Ma'am, please." "Get your hands off me. Where's his daughter?" Maya appeared beside her, small and shaking. Victoria pulled the girl close without thinking. "Stay with me," she said. "We'll wait together." They wheeled Marcus through the double doors. The last thing Victoria saw was his hand, limp, blood-stained, hanging off the edge of the stretcher. Then the doors closed, and waiting began. The emergency room waiting area filled quickly. Police officers taking statements. Hospital administrators trying to manage the chaos. 2 security guards posted at the entrance to keep out the media already gathering outside. Victoria sat in a plastic chair, Maya pressed against her side. Neither spoke. An hour passed. Then 2. A nurse brought Maya a juice box. The girl didn't touch it. "Is your daddy going to be okay?" Maya finally asked. Victoria looked down at her. This child who'd snuck into a corporate gala just to see her father. This child who'd watched him get shot. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I hope so. I really hope so." "He's strong," Maya said. "Stronger than anyone. When Mommy got sick, he worked 2 jobs. When the landlord tried to kick us out, he found a way to stay. He always finds a way. Your mommy was sick. Cancer. She died when I was 4. Maya's voice was matter-of-fact, the way children sometimes are about grief they've lived with too long. Daddy quit his job to take care of me. He said I was more important than anything. Victoria felt something crack inside her chest. A man who'd given up everything for his daughter. A man who'd then given his life for a stranger. What was he, before maintenance, I mean? Maya looked up at her with those big brown eyes. A soldier. But he doesn't like to talk about it. He says that person is gone. What person? Shadow. That's what they called him. Before Victoria could respond, the doors burst open. Colonel Raymond Banks strode in wearing full military dress uniform, medals gleaming. He'd been at the gala as a guest. Now his face was pale, his jaw tight. Where is he? Victoria stood. Surgery. They've been in there for hours. The colonel stopped when he saw her. Recognition flickered in his eyes. Ms. Sterling, I'm Colonel Banks, retired. You know him, Marcus Thompson? Banks let out a breath that seemed to age him 10 years. Know him, I served with him. Marcus Thompson, Staff Sergeant Thompson, was one of the most decorated soldiers in Ranger history. He shook his head slowly. We thought he was dead, or gone off the grid completely. Turns out he's been here the whole time, changing light bulbs. Victoria's legs felt weak. She sat back down. Tell me, everything. Banks pulled up a chair. Maya climbed into Victoria's lap, listening. Marcus enlisted at 18, fresh out of Chicago's South Side. Kid had nothing, grew up in foster care, bounced around, no family to speak of. The Army became his family. Victoria flinched. Foster care, just like her. He rose through the ranks faster than anyone I'd seen, made Ranger by 22. By 25, he was leading the most dangerous missions we had. Call sign Shadow, because he moved like one, in and out of enemy territory without a trace. What kind of missions? The kind that don't exist on paper. Banks's voice dropped. Hostage rescues, high-value target extractions. Things that kept politicians sleeping soundly in their beds while men like Marcus bled in the dark. 3 tours, 5 officially, several more that were unofficial. Banks looked at Maya, choosing his words carefully. He saved hundreds of lives, maybe thousands. There's a village in Afghanistan that named their school after him. Children are alive today because Marcus Thompson decided they mattered. Victoria's throat tightened. Why did he leave his wife, Denise? Banks's face softened. She was his anchor, the only thing that kept him human after everything he'd seen. When she got sick, Marcus walked away from everything. Career, benefits, pension. The brass offered him a desk job, a promotion, anything to keep him. You know what he said? What? He said, my daughter needs a father more than the Army needs another killer. Banks wiped his eyes. I never forgot those words. The deadliest soldier I ever knew chose to become a janitor so he could walk his daughter to school. Maya buried her face in Victoria's shoulder. That's my daddy, she whispered. That's my daddy. Victoria held her tighter, feeling the girl's tears soak through what remained of her ruined dress. Colonel, those men at the gala, the shooters. Do you know anything about them? Banks's expression hardened. I made some calls on the way over. The primary shooter is Rashid Malik. His brother was a terrorist, Marcus eliminated in Kandahar in 2018. The whole family swore blood revenge. But they were shooting at me. Were they? Banks leaned forward. Think about it, Ms. Sterling. The threats you received mentioned your past, personal details, things only someone who'd done deep research would know. I don't understand. Rashid wasn't trying to kill you. He was trying to draw Marcus out. He knew Marcus worked in your building. Knew he'd spent 3 years protecting it. The threats against you were bait. Victoria felt the blood drain from her face. He wanted Marcus to reveal himself. And Marcus did exactly what Rashid knew he would do, stepped in front of the bullet, because that's who he is. That's who he'll always be. The waiting room fell silent. Outside, rain began to fall against the windows. Ms. Sterling. Victoria looked up. Her assistant stood in the doorway, tablet in hand. The media is requesting a statement. The story has gone viral. Everyone wants to know about the janitor who saved the billionaire. Not now. Ma'am, the stock price? I said not now. Victoria's voice sliced through the air. A man is dying in there. A man who gave his life for mine. I don't care about stock prices. I don't care about media statements. I care about whether Marcus Thompson lives. Her assistant retreated. Hours crawled by. Maya fell asleep in Victoria's lap. Colonel Banks paced the hallway, making calls, pulling strings. At 2:47 a.m. a surgeon finally emerged. Victoria woke Maya gently. They stood together, hands clasped. The surgeon's face was exhausted, but not grim. That had to mean something. That had to be good. He's alive. Victoria's knees buckled. Colonel Banks caught her. The bullet nicked his lung and shattered 2 ribs. He lost almost 40% of his blood volume. Honestly, by every medical metric, he should be dead. But he's not, Maya said. Because he's my daddy. The surgeon looked at the little girl and managed a small smile. You're right. He fought like nothing I've ever seen. His body just refused to quit. I've treated combat veterans before. I know the look. This man has survived worse than any operating table. When can we see him? He's in recovery now. Probably won't wake up for several hours. But you can sit with him. Victoria took Maya's hand. Let's go see your father. The recovery room was quiet. Just the beep of monitors, the hiss of oxygen, the soft rhythm of machines, keeping Marcus Thompson alive. He looked smaller in the hospital bed. Fragile. The powerful man who'd shielded her from death now lay motionless, tubes and wires mapping his broken body. Maya climbed into the chair beside his bed and took his hand. I'm here, Daddy. I'm right here. Victoria stood in the doorway, unable to move. She'd built Sterling Industries from nothing. Crushed competitors. Outlasted enemies. Survived a world that wanted her to fail. But standing here watching a child hold her father's hand, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Small. Insignificant. All her money. All her power. None of it could have stopped that bullet. None of it could heal this man. Colonel Banks appeared beside her. You should get some rest, Ms. Sterling. Change out of those clothes. I can't leave. Why? The question was simple. The answer wasn't. Because I don't deserve to. Victoria's voice cracked. That man walked past me every single day for 3 years. He cleaned my building, fixed my lights, and I never once saw him. I never once said, thank you, and now he's lying there because of me. It's not because of you. It's because of who he is. Same thing. Victoria wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, leaving smears of dried blood across her cheeks. He shouldn't have been there. If I'd had better security, if I'd taken those threats seriously, Marcus would have done the same thing anyway. Banks put a hand on her shoulder. I've known that man for 15 years. He doesn't calculate cost versus benefit. He sees someone in danger, he moves. That's it. That's the whole equation. How do you live like that? Most people don't. That's why men like Marcus are rare. Banks looked at the bed where Maya held vigil. And that's why the world doesn't deserve them. Victoria stayed all night. She sent her assistant home, dismissed her security, changed into surgical scrubs someone offered her because her dress was unwearable. She sat in the corner of the recovery room, watching Maya sleep with her head on her father's bed, watching Marcus breathe in and out with mechanical assistance. And she thought about her own life. The penthouse apartment she rarely slept in, the fortune she never enjoyed, the relationships she'd sabotaged before they could sabotage her. She'd built walls around her heart after growing up in foster care. After learning that people always leave. After deciding that the only person she could trust was herself. But Marcus Thompson had torn a hole in those walls. Not with words, not with gestures, with action. Pure, selfless, incomprehensible action. He'd looked at death and said, not her. Take me instead. No one had ever done that for Victoria Sterling. No one had ever thought she was worth dying for. The sun rose slowly, painting the hospital room in shades of gold. Maya stirred first. She looked at her father, still unconscious, and then at Victoria. "You stayed." "I stayed." "Why?" Victoria moved to the chair beside the bed. "Because your father taught me something last night." "What?" "That people aren't investments. They're not assets or liabilities. They're just people. And sometimes the most important ones are the ones we never bother to see." Maya studied her with those old soul eyes. "Daddy says rich people forget what matters because they have too much stuff." Victoria laughed. Actually laughed. The sound surprised her. "Your daddy's right." "Are you going to fire him?" "Fire him, Maya. Your father saved my life." "I know, but sometimes people are weird about that stuff. Tommy Henderson's mom saved someone from choking at a restaurant once, and the guy tried to sue her." "I'm not going to fire him. I'm going to—" Victoria paused. What was she going to do? "I'm going to make sure he never has to worry about anything ever again. You either. We don't need charity." The words came out sharp, defensive. Victoria recognized the tone because she'd used it herself 1,000 times. "It's not charity. It's debt. A debt I can never fully repay." Before Maya could respond, a sound cut through the room. A groan. They both turned. Marcus Thompson's eyes fluttered open. "Daddy." Maya threw herself onto his chest, then immediately pulled back when he winced. "Sorry, sorry." "Hey, baby girl." His voice was rough, barely a whisper. "You okay?" "Am I okay? You got shot." "Notice that." He tried to smile. "Hurts less than that time I stepped on your Lego." Maya burst into tears and laughter at the same time. Marcus's eyes found Victoria standing behind his daughter. "Ms. Sterling." "Mr. Thompson." She moved closer. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a truck. Then the truck backed up and hit me again." "You almost died." "Almost doesn't count." He tried to sit up, failed, settled back against the pillows. "Is everyone safe?" "The gala." "The shooter is in custody. Your daughter is fine. Everyone is fine because of you." Marcus closed his eyes. Relief washed over his face. "Good. That's good." "Why?" Victoria's voice trembled. "Why did you do it? You don't know me. I'm just some CEO who signs your paycheck." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "You have a daughter." "What? No." "Neither do I. I mean—" He looked at Maya. "I have her. But before that night in Kandahar, before I met Denise, I didn't have anyone. I was just a weapon. A very efficient weapon that the government pointed at problems." Victoria sat down listening. "Denise changed that. She taught me that every life matters. Not just the lives on our side. Not just the lives we're ordered to protect. Every single one." He touched his chest, wincing at the bandages. "When I saw that gun pointed at you, I didn't see a CEO. I didn't see a paycheck. I saw a person who deserved to go home. But you have a daughter. You have someone depending on you." "I know." Marcus looked at Maya, his eyes filling with something Victoria couldn't name. "But what lesson do I teach her if I stand by and watch someone die? What kind of father chooses his own safety over someone else's life? A normal one." "I don't want to be normal. I want to be someone my daughter can be proud of." "Daddy." Maya grabbed his hand. "I'm always proud of you. Always." Victoria stood abruptly, turning toward the window. She couldn't let them see her crying, but it was too late. "Ms. Sterling." "I grew up in foster care too." The words came out before she could stop them. "Bounced around until I aged out at 18. Nobody wanted me. Nobody ever chose me. I built my company because I swore I'd never be powerless again. I'd never let anyone have the ability to hurt me." She turned back to face him. "And then you, a man I never noticed, a man I probably walked past while talking on my phone about things that don't matter, you chose me. You put yourself between me and a bullet. Not because I'm rich, not because I'm powerful, just because I'm a person. Marcus held her gaze. That's the only reason that matters. The door opened. Colonel Banks walked in, followed by two men in dark suits. Sorry to interrupt, but there are some people who want to meet our hero. The men in suits stepped forward, federal agents based on their bearing and the way they moved. Staff Sergeant Thompson, I'm Agent Morrison, FBI. This is Agent Chen, Homeland Security. We need to ask you some questions about Rashid Malik and the attack last night. Now, Victoria stepped between them and the bed. He just woke up from surgery. It's important, ma'am. Malik isn't talking. We need to understand the connection. Marcus raised a hand weakly. It's okay, Ms. Sterling. I'll talk to them. He looked at Maya. Baby girl, can you wait outside for a few minutes? I don't want to leave you. I know, but this is grown-up stuff. Boring, actually. You'd fall asleep. Maya hesitated, then kissed his forehead. Don't go anywhere. Where am I going to go? I can barely feel my legs. Victoria took Maya's hand. Come on. Let's get some breakfast. I think there's a cafeteria downstairs. As they walked out, Victoria glanced back. Marcus Thompson, the janitor, the soldier, the hero, lay in that hospital bed, ready to relive the worst parts of his past so that justice could be served. And Victoria Sterling realized she was looking at the strongest person she'd ever met. Not because he could take a bullet, but because after everything he'd been through, he still believed people were worth saving. In the hallway, Maya looked up at her. He's going to be okay, right? Victoria squeezed her hand. Your father survived 3 wars, raised you by himself, and took a bullet that should have killed him. I don't think anything can stop him. Maya nodded, seeming to accept this. Ms. Sterling. You can call me Victoria. Victoria, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you have any friends? The question caught her completely off guard. I have business associates, colleagues. That's not what I asked. Victoria stopped walking, looked down at this 10-year-old girl who saw through billion-dollar walls like they were made of glass. No, I don't have friends. That's sad. I suppose it is. Maya considered this for a moment. You can be my friend, if you want. Daddy says friendship is just choosing someone over and over again, like he chose you last night. Victoria felt her heart crack open. I'd like that, Maya. I'd like that very much. They walked toward the cafeteria hand in hand. Behind them in the recovery room, Marcus Thompson began telling federal agents about a mission in Kandahar that had haunted him for 6 years. And outside the hospital, news vans multiplied cameras pointed at the entrance reporters practicing their lines. The world wanted to know about the janitor hero. They had no idea how deep the story went. The cafeteria was nearly empty at this hour, just a few nurses grabbing coffee between shifts and an elderly man staring out the window at the rain. Victoria guided Maya to a corner table away from prying eyes. What do you want to eat? Maya shrugged. I'm not really hungry. You need to eat something. Your dad's going to ask if I took care of you. That got a small smile out of her. Pancakes. Daddy always makes pancakes on Sundays. Victoria walked to the counter and ordered pancakes, scrambled eggs, orange juice, foods she hadn't eaten in years. Her usual breakfast was black coffee and anxiety. When she returned to the table, Maya was staring at her phone. Everything okay? Someone posted a video from last night. Maya's voice was strange, hollow. A lot of people are sharing it. Victoria's stomach dropped. What video? Maya turned the phone around. The screen showed the ballroom, the moments before the shooting. Gregory Walsh, standing in front of Marcus, champagne in hand, face twisted with contempt. What exactly do you think you're doing here? Walsh's voice was clear on the recording. We can't have the help wandering around where people might see them. Then the woman's voice. Honestly, Gregory, it's embarrassing. What next? The dishwashers serving canapes. Laughter, mocking, cruel laughter. And Marcus standing there in his worn uniform saying nothing. Taking it. Listen carefully because I'm only going to say this once. You stay in your corner. You keep your head down. The video cut to 30 seconds later. The gunshot. Marcus running. The leap. The fall. Then text appeared on screen. This man was mocked for being the help. Minutes later, he took a bullet for his abusers. Victoria felt sick. How many people have seen this? Maya scrolled. It says 47 million. 47 million. It's been shared over 2 million times. Everyone's really angry at that man, the mean one. Victoria took the phone reading the comments. This is America in one video. Mock the hero, worship the wealth. That maintenance worker has more honor than everyone in that ballroom combined. Gregory Walsh needs to be fired today. The woman who laughed deserves the same. We walk past heroes every day and treat them like garbage. Her phone buzzed. Then again. Then continuously vibrating so hard it nearly fell off the table. Ms. Sterling, the board is calling an emergency meeting. Ms. Sterling, CNN is requesting a statement. Ms. Sterling, Gregory Walsh has been placed on administrative leave pending. She silenced the phone. Victoria. Maya looked up at her. Are you okay? No. Victoria sat down heavily. I'm not okay. I'm complicit in what happened to your father. What does complicit mean? It means I let it happen. I created a company where someone like Gregory Walsh could treat people like that, where my employees felt comfortable mocking a man for doing his job. She pressed her hands against her eyes. Your father walked past me every day for 3 years. I never learned his name. I never said good morning. I just didn't see him. Maya was quiet for a moment. Daddy says people only see what they're looking for. That's very wise. He also says you can't fix the past, but you can fix tomorrow. Victoria lowered her hands. This child, this 10-year-old girl, whose father was lying upstairs with a hole in his chest, was comforting her. When did you get so smart? I'm not smart. I just listen when Daddy talks. The pancakes arrived. Maya picked at them without enthusiasm. Can I tell you a secret? She asked. Of course. Sometimes I get really scared. That something will happen to Daddy and I'll be alone. I had nightmares about it. And then last night, her voice cracked. Last night the nightmare came true. I watched him fall. I saw all the blood. Victoria moved to the seat beside her, pulling her close. I know, sweetheart. I know. But he's alive. He's still here. Maya wiped her eyes. And you stayed with me. You didn't have to do that. You're important and busy and you stayed. There's nothing more important than this. That's what Daddy would say. They sat together in silence, picking at breakfast, watching the rain streak down the windows. Victoria's phone buzzed again. She glanced at it. A text from her assistant. You need to see this. Walsh is giving a press conference. She opened the link. Gregory Walsh stood behind a podium outside the Sterling Industries building, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. I want to be clear. Walsh said, his voice dripping with rehearsed sincerity. The video being circulated online has been taken completely out of context. My comments to Mr. Thompson were part of an ongoing professional conversation about event protocols. There was no malice intended. A reporter shouted, the video shows you calling him the help and telling him to stay invisible. Again, context is important. I have the utmost respect for our maintenance staff. What happened last night was a tragedy, and I'm praying for Mr. Thompson's recovery. Will you resign? Walsh's jaw tightened. I have no intention of resigning. I've served this company faithfully for 12 years and I won't let one misinterpreted moment define my career. Victoria's hand clenched around the phone. What's wrong? Maya asked. The man who insulted your father. He's on TV lying about it. Is he going to get in trouble? Yes. Victoria's voice hardened into something unrecognizable. He is. She stood up, taking Maya's hand. Come on. Let's go back to your dad. I have some calls to make. They returned to the recovery room to find Marcus sitting up slightly, the federal agents gone. Colonel Banks sat in the corner reading something on his phone. Daddy? Maya ran to his side. You're sitting up? Barely. Marcus winced as he shifted position. Feels like there's a jackhammer in my chest. The doctors say you're doing remarkably well, Colonel Banks said. They're using words like miracle and impossible. I've been called worse. Victoria stood at the foot of the bed, phone in hand. Marcus, I need to show you something, and I need to apologize. Apologize for what? She handed him the phone. The video played. Walsh's sneering face, the laughter, the humiliation. Marcus watched without expression. When it ended, he handed the phone back. I've seen it. You've seen it. Colonel showed me 20 minutes ago, along with about 50 articles calling me everything from a hero to a saint. He shook his head. I'm neither. I'm just a guy who reacted. That man Walsh, he's giving press conferences claiming it was taken out of context, claiming he respects you. Let him. Victoria stared at him. You're not angry? I'm tired. I'm in pain. I've got a daughter who watched me almost die. Marcus looked at Maya, his eyes softening. I don't have energy for anger at people like Gregory Walsh. He's not worth it. He humiliated you in front of hundreds of people. No. He humiliated himself. The difference is, he doesn't know it yet. Victoria's phone rang. She glanced at the screen. It's the board chairman. I need to take this. She stepped into the hallway. Victoria, where the hell are you? Charles Morrison's voice was sharp, panicked. The stock is in freefall. The media is camped outside headquarters. Walsh is making things worse with every word out of his mouth. I'm at the hospital. The hospital, why? Because a man almost died for me last night, Charles. I'm not leaving until I know he's okay. Victoria, the company needs you. The company can wait. Silence on the line. In 12 years of working together, Victoria had never said those words. What do you want me to do? Fire Gregory Walsh, immediately. No severance, no reference. Victoria, he's been with us for... I don't care if he's been with us since the founding. That video shows exactly who he is, and I won't have someone like that representing Sterling Industries. The optics? The optics are that our VP mocked a man who then took a bullet to save the CEO. The optics are that we employed someone who called maintenance workers the help. Fire him, Charles, today. And if the board disagrees, then I'll fire the board too. She hung up. Back in the recovery room, Marcus was telling Maya about a time he'd gotten lost in the mountains during a training exercise. So there I was. No map, no compass, no idea which way was north. And you know what I did? What? I followed a river. Rivers always lead somewhere. Sometimes you just have to trust the current. That's a metaphor, isn't it? You're too smart for your own good. He ruffled her hair. How's school been? I feel like I missed a lot while I was busy getting shot. Daddy, it's only been one day. A lot can happen in a day. Victoria returned her expression hard. It's done. Walsh is terminated. Marcus looked at her. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. She sat down in the chair beside his bed. That man represented everything wrong with the culture I built. I focused so much on profits, on growth, on being the best that I forgot what actually matters. And what's that? People! Victoria's voice cracked. The people who keep the lights on. The people who clean the floors. The people who show up every day and do their jobs without recognition or praise. They're the backbone of everything, and I treated them like furniture. You're not responsible for how other people behave. I'm responsible for the environment that allows it. She leaned forward. I grew up in foster care, Marcus. Did Maya tell you that? She mentioned you two talked. I know what it's like to be invisible, to be passed over, to have people look through you like you don't exist. And somewhere along the way, I became the thing I hated. I became the person who doesn't see. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "When I was in the Rangers," he said finally, "we had this saying. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept. Every time you see something wrong and do nothing, you're saying it's okay. I've walked past a lot of standards. So did I, for a long time." He glanced at Maya, who was watching the conversation with intense focus. "When Denise got sick, I realized I'd spent my whole life fighting other people's wars. Important wars, maybe, but not my own. I let the things that mattered slip away because I was too busy being a soldier. What changed? She died." The words came out flat. Final. "And I was left with a 3-year-old daughter and a chest full of medals that didn't mean anything. I could storm a compound in the dark, but I didn't know how to braid hair. I could neutralize a target at 800 yards, but I couldn't explain to Maya why her mother wasn't coming home." Victoria felt tears spilling down her cheeks. "So I made a choice. I left everything behind. The medals, the recognition, the brotherhood. I became nobody. Just a dad. Just a janitor." He met her eyes. "And I've never been happier." "But you almost died last night." "Almost. But Maya still has a father, and you still have your life." He reached out and took her hand. "That's not nothing, Ms. Sterling. That's everything." The door opened. A nurse entered, checking monitors, adjusting IV lines. "Mr. Thompson, you have some visitors. Quite a lot of them, actually." "Visitors. About 30 people in the lobby. They say they're veterans. They're asking to see you." Marcus looked at Colonel Banks. "Word spreads fast in our community," the colonel said. "When they heard Shadow was alive and in the hospital, they started showing up. I don't want a parade." "Too late for that." Banks smiled. "These men served with you, Marcus. Some of them owe you their lives. They're not here for a parade. They're here for a brother." Marcus closed his eyes. Victoria could see him wrestling with something internal, some part of himself he'd tried to bury. "Fine, but not in this room. Maya doesn't need to hear war stories." "I want to hear war stories," Maya protested. "When you're older." "You always say that." "Because it's always true." The nurse helped Marcus into a wheelchair. Every movement made him wince, but he didn't complain. "Victoria." He looked back at her before they wheeled him out. "Thank you. For staying with Maya. For being here. I'm not going anywhere." "I know." He smiled, that same gentle smile he'd given her right before the bullet hit. "I can tell." They wheeled him down the corridor toward the lobby, where 30 veterans in various states of dress stood at attention. Victoria watched him go, this man who'd given up everything for principle, who'd traded glory for obscurity, who'd chosen to be invisible so his daughter could shine. And she made a decision. Maya tugged at her sleeve. "Victoria. What happens now? Now." Victoria knelt down to her level. "Now we make sure this story has the right ending." "What kind of ending?" "The kind where people like your father are never invisible again." In the lobby, Marcus Thompson wheeled into a gauntlet of salutes. Men who'd bled beside him. Men who'd watched him carry wounded soldiers through enemy fire. Men who'd thought they'd never see him again. "Shadow." A grizzled sergeant with a prosthetic leg stepped forward. "You son of a bitch. We thought you were dead." "Sorry to disappoint, Reeves." "Disappoint, brother. You just proved you're still the same crazy bastard you always were." Reeves knelt beside the wheelchair, running toward gunfire in a maintenance uniform. Some things never change. Some things shouldn't. One by one they approached. Handshakes, embraces, tears from men who never cried. Stories spilled out like water from a broken dam. "You pulled me out of that Humvee in Fallujah. I still have nightmares about the fire." "Kandahar. You held that position for 6 hours until evac arrived. We were all dead without you." "My kid was born because you got me home." "Named him Marcus. Hope that's okay." Marcus took it all in, overwhelmed in a way combat had never made him feel. "I didn't do anything special," he said finally. I just did the job. That's what made you special. Colonel Banks stepped forward. You never understood that you were exceptional, Marcus. You thought everyone would do what you did. But they wouldn't. They couldn't. A commotion near the entrance drew their attention. Camera flashes, shouting. The media had found him. Mr. Thompson, can we get a statement? How does it feel to be called a hero? Is it true you served in classified operations? Security guards moved to block them, but the damage was done. The quiet reunion had become a spectacle. Marcus's face hardened. Get me out of here. Colonel Banks wheeled him toward a service elevator away from the cameras. I'm sorry, he said. I should have anticipated this. It's not your fault. The world runs on stories now, and apparently, I'm the story of the week. They reached a private waiting room on the 3rd floor. Marcus sat in silence, staring at the wall. You know this isn't going to stop, Banks said. The video has over 100 million views now. News networks are fighting for exclusive interviews. There's talk of congressional recognition. I don't want recognition. I know. I just want to take my daughter home and forget any of this happened. That's not an option anymore, Marcus. Banks sat across from him. The world has seen who you are. You can't put that back in the box. Watch me. And then what? Go back to changing light bulbs, pretending you're nobody. I am nobody. That's the point. No. Banks leaned forward. You were never nobody. You were hiding. There's a difference. Marcus didn't respond. Why did you leave? Banks asked quietly. After Denise died, why disappear completely? You know why. I know what you told everyone. That Maya needed a father, not a soldier. But that wasn't the whole truth, was it? Marcus's jaw tightened. Tell me. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then Marcus spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I was tired of death, tired of being good at it. I'd killed, I don't even know how many. The brass called them enemy combatants. But at night, when I closed my eyes, I saw faces, human faces, sons and brothers and fathers who were never going home. You were following orders. That doesn't make them less dead. Marcus looked at his hands. Denise used to have nightmares about what I might be doing overseas. She never said anything, but I could see it. The fear that she'd married a monster. You're not a monster. I'm a very efficient killer, Ray. That's what the Army trained me to be. And I was proud of it once. Proud of how good I was. But then Maya was born, and I held this tiny person in my arms, and I thought, what if someone held my targets like this? What if every person I eliminated was someone's entire world? Banks sat back, processing. So you walked away. I ran away. There's a difference. Marcus smiled bitterly. I thought if I became nobody, if I spent my days fixing toilets instead of fixing problems, maybe I could forget what I was. Maybe I could become something else. Did it work? Until last night. Marcus touched the bandages on his chest. Last night I moved without thinking. Pure instinct. The same instinct that's killed more people than I can count. The only difference is, this time I was saving instead of ending. That's not a small difference. It feels small from the inside. The door opened. Victoria walked in, Maya beside her. The media's getting worse, Victoria said. They've surrounded the building. We need to move you somewhere secure. My apartment isn't safe anymore. They've already found your address. There are news trucks parked outside. Marcus's face darkened. Maya can't go back there. No, she can't. Victoria hesitated. I have a suggestion, but you're not going to like it. What? Come to my place. The penthouse has top-tier security, separate entrance. No one gets in without clearance. Absolutely not. Marcus, I'm not going to take charity from the woman I got shot protecting. That's not how this works. Victoria crossed her arms. It's not charity. It's strategy. The story right now is janitor saves billionaire. If we change it to billionaire abandons hero to face media alone, I become the villain. And I've been enough of a villain already. So this is about optics. No, this is about me wanting to help and knowing you're too stubborn to accept help unless I frame it as helping myself. Marcus stared at her. Then, despite everything, he laughed. It hurt. His chest screamed in protest, but he laughed anyway. You're manipulative, you know that. I run a Fortune 500 company. Manipulation is literally my job description. Maya looked between them, confused. Does this mean we're going to a penthouse? Temporarily, Marcus said. Just until this blows over. Daddy, I've never been to a penthouse. Neither have I. It has a pool, Victoria offered. Maya's eyes went wide. A pool, inside the building. On the roof, actually. Daddy, there's a roof pool. Marcus sighed, looking at Victoria. You're using my daughter against me. Absolutely. Fine, we'll stay. But only until I can walk without this wheelchair. That could be weeks. Then it'll be weeks. He held her gaze. But I'm not your project, Victoria. And I'm not your redemption story. I'm just a guy who needs a safe place for his kid. I know. Do you? Victoria knelt beside the wheelchair, lowering herself to his level. When I was 16, I aged out of my last foster home. They gave me a garbage bag with my clothes in it and told me good luck. No money, no family, no plan. I slept in a bus station for 3 nights before I found a shelter that would take me. Marcus listened. I built everything I have from nothing. And somewhere along the way, I convinced myself that made me special. That I'd earned the right to look down on people who hadn't achieved what I achieved. But you built something too. You built a life. You built a family. You built a daughter who looks at you like you hung the moon. And you did it without stepping on anyone to get there. Her voice cracked. That's harder than anything I've ever done. And I didn't see it. I didn't see you. You see me now. I see you now. They looked at each other for a long moment. Something passed between them. Not romance, not yet, but recognition. Two people who'd survived by building walls finally letting someone else see what was behind them. Maya cleared her throat. Can we go see the roof pool now? Marcus laughed again, wincing and clutching his chest. Let's get out of here. They smuggled him out through the service entrance, ironic given his profession, and into a private car with tinted windows. As they pulled away from the hospital, Marcus looked back at the building where he'd almost died. Then he looked forward toward an uncertain future, his daughter's hand in his. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. The penthouse felt like another planet. Maya stood in the center of the living room, mouth open, turning in slow circles as she tried to take it all in. The space was bigger than their entire apartment building. Windows stretched from floor to ceiling, the city sprawled out below like a living map. Daddy, she whispered. Are we dreaming? Marcus sat in the wheelchair Victoria had insisted on bringing, his chest aching with every breath. He looked at his daughter's wonder and felt something twist inside him. No, baby girl, we're not dreaming. The bathroom is bigger than our kitchen. I noticed. Victoria stood near the entrance watching them both with an expression Marcus couldn't quite read. Uncertainty, maybe, like she was seeing her own home through new eyes. The guest suite is down the hall. 2 bedrooms, private bathroom. You'll have your own space. This is too much, Marcus said. It's a guest room. It's a mansion inside an apartment. It's been empty for 3 years. Victoria's voice softened. No one's ever stayed here. Not once. Maya stopped spinning. You don't have sleepovers. I don't have people, Maya. Not really. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Maya, Marcus said sharply. It's okay. Victoria actually smiled. She's right. It is sad. The next few hours were a blur of settling in. A private nurse arrived to check Marcus's vitals and change his bandages. A chef, an actual chef, prepared dinner. Maya explored every corner of the penthouse, like an astronaut discovering a new world. When evening came, they ate together at a dining table that could seat 12. 3 people. 12 chairs. The emptiness felt louder than any noise. "Ms. Sterling," Maya said, fork hovering over her pasta. "Why don't you have any pictures?" Victoria paused. "Pictures. Of family, friends. At our apartment, Daddy has pictures everywhere. Of me and Mommy and his army friends. But your walls are just art. I don't have family. Everyone has family. Not everyone." Victoria set down her fork. "I grew up in foster care. Remember, I never knew my parents. Never had siblings. The families I lived with were temporary. Most of them didn't want me. They wanted the check the state sent every month." Maya's eyes widened. "That's horrible." It was, for a long time. Victoria glanced at Marcus. "Then I learned to stop needing people. I built my company instead. Money doesn't abandon you. Success doesn't disappear in the middle of the night. But money can't hug you." The words hung in the air. Simple. Devastating. Victoria's composure cracked. Just for a second. Then she rebuilt it. "No, it can't." After dinner, Marcus insisted on walking Maya to her bedroom himself. Every step was agony, but he refused the wheelchair. "You're going to hurt yourself," Victoria said. "Probably. But I've been putting this kid to bed for 10 years. I'm not stopping now." He made it to the guest suite, sweat beading on his forehead, and tucked Maya into a bed that was roughly the size of a small boat. "Daddy?" "Yeah, baby. I like her. Ms. Sterling." "Victoria. She said you can call her Victoria." "I like Victoria." Maya pulled the blanket up to her chin. "She's sad, though. Really sad. Like she forgot how to be happy." "Some people go through things that make happiness hard." "Like you." Marcus felt his heart clench. "What do you mean?" "Sometimes when you think I'm not watching, you look sad too, like you're remembering something bad." He sat on the edge of her bed, smoothing her hair back from her forehead. "I'm working on it, baby girl. Every day I'm working on it." "Victoria should work on it too. Maybe we can help her." "Maybe we can." He kissed her forehead. "Get some sleep. I'll be right down the hall if you need me." "Promise?" "Promise." He was halfway to the door when her voice stopped him. "Daddy, I'm really glad you didn't die." Marcus closed his eyes, steadied his breath. "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." He found Victoria on the balcony, staring out at the city lights. She'd changed out of her business clothes into something simpler, jeans, a sweater. She looked almost normal, almost approachable. "She's asleep," Marcus said, leaning against the doorframe. "Good." Victoria didn't turn around. "She's had a hell of a couple days." "We all have." Silence stretched between them. The city hummed below, millions of lives playing out in parallel. "Can I ask you something?" Victoria said finally. "Depends on the question. When you jumped in front of that bullet, what were you thinking?" Marcus considered lying, considered giving her some heroic answer about duty and honor. Instead, he told the truth. "I was thinking about Denise." Victoria turned. "Your wife. She died holding my hand. Cancer had eaten through her body, but she was still trying to smile, still trying to make me feel better." His voice caught. "The last thing she said to me was, 'Save someone today. Anyone. That's what you're here for.' And you've been trying to honor that ever since. Trying, failing, trying again." He moved to stand beside her at the railing. "When I saw that gun pointed at you, I heard her voice, clear as day, like she was standing right next to me." "What did she say?" "Save her." Marcus looked at Victoria. "That's all. Just save her. So I did." Victoria's eyes glistened. "I've spent my whole life making sure I never needed saving. I built walls, hired security, accumulated enough money and power to protect myself from anything. And none of it mattered. One man with a gun, and everything I built was useless. She wiped her eyes. But you, a man with nothing, you were everything. I'm not a man with nothing. I have Maya. That's exactly what I mean. Victoria faced him fully. I have a company worth $11 billion. I have properties on 3 continents. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. But I don't have what you have. What do I have? Someone who looks at you like you're the whole world. Someone who hugs you because they want to, not because they need something. Someone who stays. Marcus didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. I've made a decision, Victoria continued, about the company, about how things are going to change. What kind of decision? Tomorrow, I'm announcing the Thompson Foundation. Scholarships for children of veterans. Support services for single parents. Housing assistance for workers struggling to make ends meet. It's going to be funded with $50 million from my personal accounts. Marcus stared at her. 50 million? It's not enough. It'll never be enough, but it's a start. Victoria, you don't have to. Yes, I do. She gripped the railing. For 32 years I've been accumulating. Wealth, power, status. And for what? To die alone in a penthouse full of expensive art and empty rooms. You're not going to die alone. How do you know? Because you're not the same person you were 3 days ago. I can see it. Victoria laughed bitterly. A near-death experience will do that. It wasn't near death that changed you. It was Maya. She looked at him sharply. What? Maya showed you what you're missing. Kids do that. They cut through all the walls and defenses and pretense. They see you. The real you. She called my life the saddest thing she's ever heard. She's not wrong. Victoria's laugh was more genuine this time. No, she's not. They stood in silence for a while, watching the city breathe below them. I want to offer you a job, Victoria said eventually. I already have a job. I'm aware. I'm offering you a different one. Director of Community Relations and Employee Welfare. You'd be responsible for making sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else. No more invisible workers. No more Gregory Walshes treating people like furniture. Marcus shook his head. I'm not qualified for that. You're more qualified than anyone I've ever met. I fix toilets, Victoria. You fix people. She turned to face him. I watched those veterans at the hospital. The way they looked at you. The way they talked about you. You changed their lives, Marcus. Not by being their commander, but by seeing them. By treating them like human beings. That's not a job qualification. It's the only qualification that matters. Marcus's jaw tightened. I don't want charity. For God's sake, stop calling everything charity. Victoria's voice rose. I'm offering you a job because you're the best person for it. Because I need someone who understands what it's like to be overlooked. Because I trust you in a way I've never trusted anyone in my entire life. Why? Because you had nothing to gain by saving me. You weren't angling for a promotion or a payout. You just moved. Because it was the right thing to do. Her voice cracked. Do you have any idea how rare that is? In my world, everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. But you just wanted to save a life. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. The night deepened around them. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed another emergency, another crisis, another story playing out in the darkness. Victoria. Yes. Thank you. For taking care of Maya while I was in surgery. For staying. You don't have to thank me. I do. Because I know what it cost you. He met her eyes. Opening yourself up. Letting someone in. After everything you've been through, that's harder than any bullet. Victoria's walls crumbled. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Not delicate tears, but ugly ones. The kind that had been held back for decades. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. I don't know how to be a person, a real person who connects with other real people. Neither do I. Marcus reached out and took her hand. But we can figure it out together. They stayed like that for a long time, two broken people holding on to each other against the vastness of the night. The next morning, everything accelerated. Victoria's press conference was scheduled for 10 a.m. Marcus watched from the penthouse as reporters gathered outside Sterling Industries headquarters, cameras and microphones creating a forest of technology. Maya sat beside him on the couch, eating cereal from a bowl that probably cost more than Marcus's monthly rent. Is Victoria going to be on TV? She is. Are they going to talk about you? Probably. Are you okay with that? Marcus considered the question. 3 days ago, his entire identity was built on invisibility, on being nobody, on hiding from a past that haunted him. I don't know, he admitted, but I think it might be time to stop hiding. At exactly 10 a.m., Victoria walked to the podium outside Sterling Industries. She looked different somehow. The same sharp suit, the same perfect posture, but something in her eyes had changed. The Ice Queen had thawed. Thank you all for coming. I have a statement to read, and then I'll take questions. The reporters leaned in hungry for blood. 3 nights ago, a man named Marcus Thompson saved my life. He did it without hesitation, without expectation of reward, and without regard for his own safety. That man was my employee, a maintenance worker who'd served this company faithfully for 3 years without ever being noticed or acknowledged. Victoria paused, her composure flickering. I want to be clear about something. Marcus Thompson didn't just save my life from a bullet. He saved my soul from something worse, from becoming a person who walks past heroes without seeing them. From becoming someone who values profit over people, status over substance, success over humanity. In the penthouse, Marcus felt his throat tighten. Effective immediately, I am announcing 3 major initiatives. First, the termination of Gregory Walsh, and a full investigation into workplace culture at Sterling Industries. No one should ever be made to feel invisible or worthless because of their job title. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Second, the establishment of the Thompson Foundation, funded with $50 million from my personal accounts. This foundation will provide scholarships for children of veteran support services for single parents and housing assistance for workers in need. The murmurs grew louder. Third, and most importantly, I am extending an offer to Marcus Thompson to serve as our Director of Community Relations and Employee Welfare. He has not yet accepted, and I want to be clear that this is not charity or obligation. It is recognition of the fact that Marcus Thompson represents everything this company should aspire to be. Victoria looked directly into the cameras. Marcus, if you're watching, and I know you are, I want you to know something. You told me last night that everyone deserves to be seen, that every life matters. I believe you, and I'm going to spend the rest of mine proving it. She stepped back from the podium. Questions. The reporters erupted. Miss Sterling, what is your relationship with Mr. Thompson? He's my friend. The word seemed to surprise even Victoria. My first real friend, actually. Is there a romantic component to be? Next question. Has Mr. Thompson agreed to the job offer? Not yet. He's stubborn. Laughter rippled through the crowd. What about the shooter, Rashid Malik? Do you have any comment? Victoria's expression hardened. Rashid Malik targeted me to get to Marcus. He was seeking revenge for something that happened during Marcus's military service. I've been in contact with federal authorities, and I'm confident that justice will be served. Do you feel responsible for what happened? I feel responsible for not doing more to protect my employees. I feel responsible for creating an environment where someone like Gregory Walsh could thrive. I feel responsible for walking past a hero every day without seeing him. Victoria's voice steadied. But I don't feel responsible for the actions of a terrorist, and neither should Marcus. Maya looked up at Marcus. She's really good at talking. She is. Are you going to take the job? Marcus stared at the screen, at this woman who'd transformed overnight from the Ice Queen to something else entirely. I think I might, baby girl. I think I might. The afternoon brought a different kind of chaos. Colonel Banks arrived at the penthouse with news. The president's office called. They want to schedule the Medal of Valor ceremony for next week. Marcus groaned. I told you I don't want medals. And I told you it's not about what you want. Banks sat across from him. This country needs heroes, Marcus. Real ones. Not manufactured celebrities or social media influencers. People who actually stand for something. I stood in front of a bullet. That doesn't make me a hero. That's exactly what makes you a hero. Ray, listen to me. Banks leaned forward. I've watched this country tear itself apart. Politics, division, hatred. Everyone's fighting over stupid nonsense while the things that matter get ignored. But you cut through all of it. Black, white, rich, poor. Everyone watched that video and saw the same thing. A man who chose courage over comfort. A father who chose sacrifice over safety. I didn't choose anything. I just reacted. Because it's who you are. Don't you understand that? You can't help being a hero, Marcus. It's baked into your bones. Victoria entered the room, phone in hand. The ceremony is set for Friday. White House Rose Garden. The president wants to meet you personally beforehand. I need more time to recover. The doctors say you'll be fine. The doctors don't feel like there's a jackhammer in my chest every time I breathe. Victoria sat beside him. Marcus, I know this isn't what you wanted. I know you'd rather disappear back into anonymity and pretend none of this happened, but that's not possible anymore. The world has seen you, really seen you. That's what I was afraid of. Why? Marcus closed his eyes. Because I'm not who they think I am. I'm not some noble soldier who only ever did good things. I've killed people, Victoria. A lot of people. I've made choices that haunt me. I've done things I can never take back. In war. That doesn't matter. The people I killed had families too. Children who never saw their fathers again. Wives who got letters that destroyed their worlds. His voice dropped. How can I accept a medal for heroism when I've caused so much pain? Victoria took his hand. You want to know what I see when I look at you? I see a man who was asked to do impossible things and did them because his country asked him to. I see a man who walked away from that life because he wanted to be better. I see a man who spent 6 years trying to make amends by raising a daughter who might actually change the world someday. Victoria. And I see a man who, when given the choice between saving himself and saving a stranger, didn't hesitate. Not because of training, not because of orders, because saving people is who you are at your core. Marcus opened his eyes. When did you get so wise? About 3 days ago, when a man in a cheap uniform taught me what courage actually looks like. Maya appeared in the doorway. Daddy, there's someone at the door. Who? A lot of someones. They say they're from the neighborhood. Marcus and Victoria exchanged glances. The penthouse had top-tier security. No one should be able to just show up. I authorized it, Victoria admitted. They passed security screening. I thought, you might want to see them. Marcus wheeled himself to the elevator lobby. The doors opened to reveal a crowd of familiar faces. Deshaun Williams from the maintenance department holding a card the size of a poster. Mrs. Patterson from the apartment building clutching a casserole dish. Mr. Chen from the corner store. Teachers from Maya's school. Neighbors. Co-workers. Faces Marcus had seen every day without realizing they saw him back. What is this? Deshaun stepped forward. We heard you were hurt. We heard about the video. We wanted you to know something. What? You were never invisible to us. Deshaun's voice cracked. Maybe to the rich folks upstairs. Maybe to the world. But not to us. We saw you, Marcus. Every day. The way you helped old Mr. Patterson with his groceries. The way you fixed Mrs. Chen's heater for free. The way you always asked about our families, remembered our names, treated us like human beings. The crowd murmured in agreement. So we pooled our money. Wasn't much. Few $1,000s. We wanted to set up a college fund for Maya. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. You didn't have to. Yeah, we did. Mrs. Patterson stepped forward, her eyes wet. Because that's what community means. We look out for each other, the way you looked out for all of us. Maya pushed past her father and threw her arms around Deshawn. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank your dad, little one. He's the reason we're all here. Marcus looked at the faces gathered before him. People he'd considered acquaintances at best. Strangers he passed on his way to work. They weren't strangers. They were family. The family he'd built without even realizing it. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Deshawn grinned. Just get better. And stop trying to catch bullets. We need you around. The crowd laughed. Marcus laughed too, even though it hurt. Victoria stood behind him, watching this scene unfold, this display of community and love and human connection that all her billions could never buy. And she realized something. Marcus Thompson wasn't just a hero to the world. He was a hero to the people who actually knew him. The real ones. The ones who mattered. That night, after the visitors left and Maya was asleep, Marcus found Victoria on the balcony again. I'll do it, he said. She turned. Do what? The job, the medal ceremony, all of it. What changed your mind? Marcus looked out at the city, millions of lights, millions of stories, millions of people just trying to survive. I spent 6 years hiding because I thought I didn't deserve to be seen. But those people today, they showed me something. You can't help people from the shadows. You can't change anything by being invisible. So maybe it's time to step into the light. He met her eyes. Denise always said I was meant for something more than killing. Maybe this is it. Maybe all that pain was just preparation for this moment. Victoria moved to stand beside him. You're going to be okay, Marcus Thompson. You think so? I know so. She smiled a real smile, the kind that reached her eyes. We both are. Below them, the city hummed its endless song. And somewhere in the darkness, dawn was waiting. The morning of the ceremony arrived wrapped in golden sunlight. Marcus stood in front of the mirror in Victoria's guest suite, struggling with a tie he hadn't worn in 6 years. His fingers fumbled. The silk slipped through his grasp like water. Daddy, you're doing it wrong. Maya appeared behind him, already dressed in a navy blue dress Victoria had bought for her. She looked older somehow, more serious, like the last week had aged her in ways that couldn't be measured. I know I'm doing it wrong. That's the problem. Let me try. She climbed onto the bathroom counter and took the tie in her small hands. Her tongue poked out in concentration as she worked the fabric into something resembling a knot. Where did you learn to do that? YouTube. I watched a video last night because I knew you'd mess it up. Marcus laughed, then winced. His chest still ached, though the doctors said he was healing faster than anyone expected. You're too smart for your own good. That's what Mommy used to say. The mention of Denise hung in the air between them. Marcus looked at his daughter, really looked at her, and saw traces of his wife in her eyes, her smile the stubborn set of her jaw. She'd be proud of you, baby girl. She'd be proud of you too, Daddy. Maya finished the knot and patted his chest gently. You look handsome. I look like I'm going to throw up. That too. A knock at the door interrupted them. Victoria's voice came through. The car's here. We need to leave in 10 minutes. Marcus opened the door. Victoria stood in the hallway wearing a deep burgundy dress that made her look like a completely different person from the corporate warrior he'd first encountered. Softer, more human. You clean up nice, she said. I feel like a fraud. You look like a hero. Same thing. She reached out and straightened his tie, the same tie Maya had just fixed. It was already straight, Maya protested. I know. I just wanted an excuse to touch it. Victoria smiled at the girl. You ready for this? I've never been to Washington before. Neither have I, Marcus admitted. Really? You served in the army for 14 years and never went to the Capitol. They don't exactly send rangers to the Smithsonian. Our destinations were less touristy. Victoria took his hand. It had become natural over the past week, this casual touching, this physical connection, that neither of them acknowledged, but both of them needed. Let's go make history. The flight to Washington took 2 hours. Maya spent the entire time with her face pressed against the window, marveling at the clouds below. Marcus spent it trying not to think about what waited on the other end. You're nervous, Victoria said, sitting beside him. I'm terrified. Of what? Of all of it. The cameras, the speeches, the president. He lowered his voice so Maya wouldn't hear. I'm not good at being seen, Victoria. I spent my whole career in the shadows. That's where I was comfortable. Comfort is overrated. Easy for you to say. You've been in the spotlight your whole career. And I've hated every second of it. Victoria met his eyes. You think I enjoy press conferences, board meetings, being photographed and analyzed and criticized by people who've never met me? It's exhausting. Then why do it? Because some things are more important than comfort. Some things are worth the fear. She squeezed his hand. You taught me that. I didn't teach you anything. You taught me everything. Her voice cracked. You taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the face of fear. You taught me that the most powerful thing a person can do is see someone else really see them and choose to help. You taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about showing up. Marcus didn't know how to respond, so he just held her hand tighter. Daddy, look. Maya's voice cut through the moment. I can see the Washington Monument. The plane began its descent. The White House was everything Marcus had expected and nothing he was prepared for. Security checkpoints, Secret Service agents with earpieces and suspicious eyes, hallways filled with history paintings of presidents, busts of founding fathers, furniture that had witnessed the birth of a nation. Maya walked between Marcus and Victoria, her head on a swivel, trying to absorb everything at once. This is where the president lives. This is where the president works. He lives upstairs. Can we see upstairs? Probably not today, baby girl. A staff member in a crisp suit approached them. Mr. Thompson, Ms. Sterling. The president is ready for you in the Oval Office. Marcus's heart stopped. The Oval Office. He wanted to meet you privately before the ceremony. Victoria gave him a reassuring nod. Go. Maya and I will wait here. Victoria. You can do this, Marcus. You've done harder things than shake hands with a politician. She wasn't wrong, but somehow this felt more terrifying than any combat mission he'd ever faced. The staff member led him through corridors that seemed to stretch forever, past portraits of Lincoln and Kennedy and Roosevelt, past doors that led to rooms where history had been made and unmade. Finally, they stopped in front of a door that needed no introduction. The president will see you now. The door opened. Marcus Thompson, maintenance worker, single father, former shadow, walked into the Oval Office. The president stood by the window, looking out at the rose garden where the ceremony would take place. He was taller than Marcus expected, grayer, more tired. Mr. Thompson. The president turned and extended his hand. It's an honor to meet you. The honor is mine, sir. Please sit. We have a few minutes before the madness begins. They sat across from each other, two men from completely different worlds connected by circumstance. I've read your file, the president said. The unclassified parts, anyway. 3 silver stars, 2 purple hearts. Missions that saved hundreds of American lives. I was just doing my job, sir. That's exactly what heroes always say. The president leaned forward. But that's not why I wanted to meet you. I wanted to meet the man who walked away. Marcus stiffened. Sir, you had a career that most soldiers would kill for. You were on track for Special Operations Command, maybe even Joint Chiefs someday. And you gave it all up to change light bulbs. My daughter needed me. That's what your file says. But I think there's more to it. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. You want the truth, sir. I always want the truth. I rarely get it. I was tired of killing people. The words came out flat. Honest. I was good at it. Too good. And every time I pulled a trigger, every time I neutralized a target, I felt a piece of myself die too. When my wife got sick, I realized I had a choice. I could keep being a weapon, or I could try to become a human being again. The president nodded slowly. And did you become human again? I'm still working on it. But Maya helps. Being her father helps. Marcus paused. And 3 nights ago, when I jumped in front of that bullet, I finally felt like maybe I'd earned the right to call myself something other than a killer. You saved a life instead of taking one. Yes, sir. That's not nothing, Mr. Thompson. That's everything. The president stood extending his hand again. Thank you for your service, all of it. The missions in the dark and the light bulbs in the daytime. This country is better because you exist. Marcus shook his hand, his throat too tight for words. Now let's go give you that medal. The press is getting restless. The Rose Garden was packed. Camera crews from every major network, journalists clutching notebooks, veterans in dress uniforms standing at attention, politicians jockeying for position. And in the front row, Maya and Victoria holding hands. Marcus walked to the platform every step feeling like a mile. The sun was warm on his face. The audience blurred into a sea of indistinct shapes. Then he found Maya's eyes. She was crying, smiling and crying at the same time. And suddenly, nothing else mattered. The ceremony began with the national anthem. Then the president took the podium. We gather today to honor a man who represents the best of America. Not the America we argue about on cable news. Not the America we fight over on social media. The real America. The one that shows up when it matters. Marcus stood beside him, fighting the urge to run. Marcus Thompson served his country for 14 years in ways most of us will never know. He completed missions that saved countless lives. He earned medals and commendations that would fill a wall. And then when his family needed him, he walked away from all of it. He became a father first, a worker second, a hero always. The president turned to face Marcus directly. 3 nights ago, Marcus Thompson saw a woman in danger. He didn't know her. She wasn't his responsibility. But he didn't hesitate. He ran toward the threat while everyone else ran away. He put his body between a bullet and a stranger. He nearly died so that someone else could live. The audience was silent, captivated. That is courage. Not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Not the desire for recognition, but the compulsion to do what's right regardless of recognition. The president lifted a medal from a velvet box. Marcus Thompson, on behalf of a grateful nation, I award you the Presidential Medal of Valor for extraordinary heroism in the face of imminent threat. Your actions reflect the highest ideals of selfless service and moral courage. May your story inspire others to be brave when it matters most. He placed the medal around Marcus's neck. The applause was deafening, but Marcus barely heard it. He was looking at Maya, at the tears streaming down her face, at the pride radiating from every inch of her small body. And he was looking at Victoria, who was clapping harder than anyone who had transformed from a stranger into something he couldn't quite name. The president stepped aside, gesturing toward the microphone. Would you like to say a few words? Marcus approached the podium on legs that felt like water. 1,000 cameras pointed at him. Millions of people watching live. His voice would reach places he'd never been touched, lives he'd never know. He thought about running, about saying nothing, about retreating into the shadows where he'd always felt safe. Then, he thought about Denise. Save someone today. Anyone. That's what you're here for. He leaned into the microphone. I'm not good at speeches. I never was. So I'm just going to tell you the truth and hope it makes sense. The crowd leaned in. 3 days ago, I was invisible. I worked in a building full of people who never saw me. I fixed their problems and stayed out of their way. That was my job. That was my life, and I was okay with it because invisible felt safe. His voice steadied as he continued. But here's the thing about being invisible. It's lonely. And it's a lie. Because I wasn't really invisible. I was hiding from my past, hiding from the person I used to be, hiding from the fear that if anyone really saw me, they wouldn't like what they found. He found Maya's eyes again. My daughter saw me. Every day she saw me. Not the soldier, not the janitor, just her dad. And she loved me anyway. That's the only reason I'm standing here today, because one person believed I was worth something. Victoria wiped tears from her face. The night of the shooting, I didn't think. I just moved. And when I woke up in that hospital, I expected the world to have moved on. I expected to go back to being nobody. He shook his head. But something strange happened. People started seeing me. Not just as a hero, that word gets thrown around too much anyway, but as a person. Neighbors I'd passed for years suddenly had stories to share. Coworkers I barely knew brought me flowers. Strangers on the internet sent messages that made me cry. His voice cracked. And I realized something. I was never invisible. I was just afraid to be seen. Afraid that if people knew who I really was, the things I'd done, the choices I'd made, they'd turn away. He gripped the podium. But they didn't turn away. They stepped closer. They reached out. They showed me that being seen isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. He looked directly into the cameras. So here's what I want to say to everyone watching. To the single parents working 2 jobs. To the veterans bagging groceries because civilian life doesn't come with a manual. To the maintenance workers and janitors and bus drivers and everyone else who keeps this country running while being treated like furniture. His voice rose. You are not invisible. You are not worthless. You are not just anything. You are the backbone of everything. And the people who look past you, they're the ones who are missing out, not you. The applause started somewhere in the back and rolled forward like thunder. I didn't ask to be a hero. I don't even know what that word means anymore. But I know this: every single day, in every city, in every building, there are people doing heroic things that no one notices. They're raising kids alone. They're working through pain. They're showing up when giving up would be easier. He looked at Maya, his voice breaking. Those are the real heroes, and the best thing the rest of us can do is start seeing them. He stepped back from the podium. The rose garden erupted. Maya broke free from Victoria and ran toward the platform. Marcus caught her in his arms, lifting her despite the pain in his chest, holding her like she was the only thing real in a world gone mad. I'm so proud of you, Daddy. I'm proud of you, baby girl, every single day. Victoria reached them a moment later. She wrapped her arms around both of them, creating a circle that felt like coming home. The cameras captured everything. The embrace. The tears. The 3 people who'd found each other in the wreckage of tragedy. It would become the most shared image of the year. But for Marcus, it was just the beginning. 6 months later, the Thompson Foundation had distributed its first round of scholarships. 300 children of veterans would attend college because of Marcus's story. 200 single parents received housing assistance. 1,000 workers across Sterling Industries got raises and recognition programs that actually meant something. Marcus stood in his new office on the 20th floor, a space that felt too big, too bright, too public. But he was learning to live with discomfort. Mr. Thompson, your 2 o'clock is here. Send them in. The door opened. A young woman in a maintenance uniform walked in, clutching a folder to her chest. She was maybe 25, nervous as hell, clearly wondering why the director of community relations wanted to see her. Maria, right? Maria Santos. Yes, sir. Sit down, and please don't call me sir. I spent too many years saying that word to enjoy hearing it. She sat still, tense. Do you know why you're here? No, sir. I mean no. I don't. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Your supervisor tells me you've been working double shifts for 3 months. You've never complained, never called in sick, never asked for anything. I need the money. My mom is sick. I know. I read your file. He pushed a folder across the desk. The Thompson Foundation has a program for exactly this situation. Medical assistance for family members of employees in need. Your mother's treatment is covered. All of it. Maria's eyes went wide. I don't understand. There's nothing to understand. You work hard. You need help. Help is available. Marcus smiled. That's how it should work. Maria burst into tears. I've been so scared. The bills keep coming and I didn't know what to do, and I thought if I just kept working. You're not alone anymore, Maria. That's the whole point. He stood and walked around the desk. This company sees you now. I see you. And we're going to help. She threw her arms around him. Marcus hugged her back, remembering what it felt like to be invisible. Remembering the desperation of trying to keep afloat when the water kept rising. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. Just pass it on someday. That's all I ask. After Maria left, Marcus stood by his window looking down at the city he'd once cleaned toilets in. The same streets, the same buildings. But everything had changed. His phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. Dinner tonight, Maya wants spaghetti. He smiled and typed back. I'll bring the garlic bread. Another text appeared. I talked to the adoption agency today. They said Maya's paperwork is moving forward. Should be finalized by next month. Marcus stared at the screen, his heart pounding. Victoria had been talking about this for weeks. About making their arrangement permanent. About becoming the family they'd already become in practice. He typed back. Are you sure about this? Her response came immediately. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. That night, they sat around the dining table in Victoria's penthouse, the same penthouse that had once felt cold and empty, now filled with Maya's drawings, Marcus's books, and the scattered evidence of a life being built. Daddy, can I ask you something? Always, baby girl. Are you and Victoria going to get married? Marcus choked on his spaghetti. Victoria laughed. Where did that come from? Tommy Henderson says that when two people live together and hold hands and look at each other the way you two do, they usually get married. Tommy Henderson needs to mind his own business. That doesn't answer my question. Marcus looked at Victoria across the table. She looked back at him with those eyes he'd grown to trust more than anyone else's. I don't know, he said honestly. Marriage is complicated. Why? Because your daddy is stubborn, Victoria said. And because I've never been good at relationships. And because we're both scared of ruining what we have. Maya considered this for a moment. That's dumb. Maya, you love each other. Anyone can see it. And you make each other happy. And you make me happy. She stabbed a meatball with her fork. Why would you ruin that by being scared? Marcus and Victoria stared at each other. She has a point, Victoria said. She usually does. So, maybe we should talk about it. Later. When there aren't tiny ears listening. My ears aren't tiny, Maya protested. They're average-sized. Victoria laughed. Marcus laughed. And somewhere in the warmth of that moment, the last of his walls came down. 1 year later. The wedding was small. Just friends and family, the family Marcus had built, not the one he'd never had. Colonel Banks served as best man. Deshaun Williams gave a toast that made everyone cry and laugh at the same time. Maya served as flower girl and ring bearer and unofficial wedding planner. The ceremony took place in the Rose Garden of Sterling Industries headquarters, the same building where Marcus had once been invisible, now transformed into a symbol of everything he'd helped change. Victoria wore white. Marcus wore a suit that still made him uncomfortable, though less than before. Do you, Marcus Thompson, take Victoria Sterling to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. Do you, Victoria Sterling, take Marcus Thompson to be your lawfully wedded husband? I do, obviously. The crowd laughed. The officiant smiled. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. They kissed. Maya cheered. The audience erupted in applause, and Marcus Thompson, the invisible man who'd become the most visible hero in America, finally understood what home felt like. Not a building, not an address, a feeling. The feeling of being seen by the people who matter, of being loved not for what you've accomplished, but for who you are, of knowing that no matter what happens, you're not alone. Later that night, after the guests had gone, and Maya had fallen asleep in a chair, Marcus stood on the balcony with Victoria, the same balcony where they'd first talked, the same view that had watched their transformation. "Do you regret it?" Victoria asked. "Regret what?" "Any of it. Taking that bullet, becoming famous, losing your anonymity." Marcus thought about it. "No," he said finally. "I don't." "Really? Really? Because if I hadn't jumped in front of that bullet, I never would have found you. Maya never would have found a mother, and I never would have learned that being seen isn't something to fear." Victoria leaned her head against his shoulder. "What happens now? Now we live. We raise Maya. We help people. We show up." He wrapped his arm around her. "We prove that heroism isn't about one moment. It's about every moment, every choice, every day." "That sounds exhausting." "It is." He smiled. "But it's worth it." Below them, the city hummed its endless song. Millions of lives, millions of stories, millions of invisible people waiting to be seen. Marcus had been one of them once. Now he was something else entirely. Not a hero. That word still felt too big. Just a man who chose to show up, who chose to protect, who chose to love. And in the end, that was more than enough. Because courage doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask for medals or recognition or applause. It simply acts. When the moment comes, when the choice appears, when everyone else runs away, courage runs toward. Marcus Thompson learned that truth the hard way, and he spent the rest of his life making sure the world never forgot it. Some heroes wear capes. Some heroes wear uniforms. But the greatest heroes wear ordinary clothes and do extraordinary things when nobody's watching. They're the single parents working double shifts, the veterans stocking shelves, the maintenance workers fixing what's broken, the invisible ones, the ones who keep showing up, the ones who never stop protecting. They're everywhere if you know how to look. So open your eyes, start seeing. Because the hero you pass on the street today might just save your life tomorrow. And when they do remember Marcus Thompson, remember the janitor who became a legend. Remember the father who chose his daughter. Remember the man who stood between a bullet and a stranger and whispered 3 words that changed everything. "You're safe now." That's what heroes say. That's what they do. That's who they are. And that's who we all can be if we're brave enough to be seen. The end.